So now I want to go to Speaker Boehner, actually. And there's a nice quote here from Fox News from the O'Reilly factor that I want to get into. Let's look at that clip right now.
I think we need to look at new leadership. John Boehner's done a fine job, but we have to do some changes. We have to have changes. We have to make new faces, and we have to have different language. And, you know, let's face it, the last 4 years, the team have been playing together. The folks have not been able to get along. I mean, nothing is happening in Washington, D.C. It's gridlock. So we've got to change something. We tried to change the White House. We were not able to get that done, unfortunately. So now we need to look at new leadership. Kevin McCarthy, Kathy McMorris Rogers, you know, we've got a good group of folks to pick from. And I think John Boehner's days are just done. It's not working. Let's look at someone else.
Chris, I had a well-placed conservative voice today on the Hill email me and said he's beginning to hear rumblings. I already gave something away. He's beginning to hear rumblings of a move to replace the Speaker of the House. We're in the...
So as you saw in that clip, you have conservatives calling for a challenge to Speaker Boehner's speakership. Well, just who would go and replace Speaker Boehner if such a challenge was made? Some of the names that were floated around, like in the video, Kevin McCarthy, Kathy McMorris, even former vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan, and my favorite, Sarah Palin. Yes, this Sarah Palin, who brought us many gems, like these.
Republicans and Democrats may not support this bill if John McCain doesn't, because it may be unpopular and they're not willing to take the political risks. If it doesn't pass, what is the alternative?
As I say, inaction is not an option. We have got to shore up our economy. This is a crisis moment for America, really the rest of the world also, looking to see what the impacts will be if America were to choose not to shore up what has happened on Wall Street because of the ultimate adverse effects on Main Street, and then how that affects this globalization that we're a part of in our world. So the rest of the world really is looking at John McCain, the leadership that he's going to provide through this, and if those provisions in the proposal can be implemented and make this proposal better, make it make more sense to taxpayers, then again, John McCain is going to prove his leadership. But ultimately, what the bailout does is help those who are concerned about the health care reform that is needed to help shore up our economy, helping the... It's got to be all about job creation, too, shoring up our economy and putting it back on the right track. So health care reform and reducing taxes and reining in spending has got to accompany tax reductions and tax relief for Americans. And trade, we've got to see trade as opportunity, not as a competitive, scary thing, but 1 in 5 jobs being created in the trade sector today. We've got to look at that as more opportunity. All those things under the umbrella of job creation. This bailout is a part of that. I don't know, you know, reporters.
Mocked.
Yeah, mocked, I guess that's the word, yeah.
Well, explain to me why that enhances your foreign policy credentials.
Well, it certainly does, because our next door neighbors are foreign countries. They're in the state that I am the executive of. And
have you ever been
Russia.
Involved with any negotiations, for example, with the Russians?
We have trade missions back and forth. We do. It's very important when you consider even national security issues with Russia, as Putin rears his head and comes into the airspace of the United States of America. Where do they go? It's Alaska. It's just right over the border. It is from Alaska that we send those out to make sure that an eye is being kept on this very powerful nation, Russia, because they are right there. They are right next to our state.
Yes, that Sarah Palin. Wouldn't it be hilarious to have a Speaker Palin? That'd be great. So now I want to get into John Boehner. Now, like I said, there are many conservatives that have been going against John Boehner's speakership, including Ron Meyer Jr., who tweeted, "Speaker Boehner needs to resign. GOP needs new negotiator and a new plan. He has no support among the American people. Hashtag fire Boehner. Fun times. I love seeing Republican on Republican crime. It's great. Ned Ryan from redstate.com, he writes, Speaker Boehner's leadership has been discredited, and now he'll procrastinate on preventing the fiscal cliff until he can re-secure power. Didn't quite work out that way, but still. Our country's economy and the conservative movement deserve better than to be held hostage by Speaker Boehner's last cling to power. Time for a change, and time for a change right now. That is great. That is great. Now, what happened from these challenges? Speaker Boehner easily got reelected to the leadership. Some of his supporters in the House, such as Representative Mick Mulvaney from South Carolina, he says, quote, "This was not a vote of no confidence in the Speaker. This was a legislative defeat, not a personal defeat." And that's referring, of course, to the fiscal cliff. Representative John Fleming from Louisiana, he says, quote, "He is my Speaker, and I support him." All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. And my favorite quote from this whole thing comes from Representative Steve LaTourette from Ohio. He says, quote, "It's like saying the superintendent of an insane asylum should be discharged because he couldn't control the crazy people." That's nuts. I love that. That is great. That is great. So what do I think about the whole speakership fight? I don't really care about it. I mean, I don't like Speaker Boehner. I mean, I don't like his views on a lot of things. I don't know the guy personally, so I can't say anything personally about him. But I don't like his voting record. I don't like where he stands on a lot of things. And I really don't like that he refused to bring up the Sandy relief bill. Right now, that Sandy relief bill is sitting in limbo. The new Congress, which just sat down today, actually, the 113th, they now have to draft a completely new bill, bring it to the House and the Senate, and then have it signed. While these people out in New Jersey, New York, that were affected by Sandy, have to sit there and wait. This is an absolute travesty. It's sad, man. It's sad.